All right, everyone. Corey Feldman is threatening Hollyweird right now by saying, yeah, I know a bunch of perverts and pedophiles, and I think I'm going to go public and tell people. And he's raising money to, like, I guess, probably fight legal fees. Because here's the thing. Usually when some actor or former actor or actress, former actress, some Hollywood manager or something, usually when they come out to the public and they say, hey, there are perverts and drug users and weirdos in Hollywood and I know some names, you know what usually happens? They usually get thrown in jail or they get thrown in a psych ward. And Feldman already got arrested. Marijuana possession. Ooh, he was possessing marijuana and got thrown in jail. Some people say, oh, well, that means he's like using other substances. They'll probably try to plant crack on him or something at some point. That's usually what happens. They try to frame and character assassinate to lessen the attack, so they don't have to deal with things. Unfortunately for Hollywood, this is the first time in the truly modern era of very activistic and sometimes, honestly, craftivistic social media awareness that large numbers of people will jump aboard such a thing. Because we see the Weinstein thing solidified both the far left and the far right in hatred of Hollywood. The far left didn't like it because they're like, you know, believe the victims and rape and women's rights. That was sort of the angle. And so all the people on the left piled aboard Weinstein and wanted to run him down. People on the right, though, they're like, oh, we told you Hollywood's overrun with perverts. We've been telling you that for years. The fringe of the right's like, yeah, it's full of pedophiles. It's full of perverts. What more need you know? We've said this for decades and decades now, that Hollywood is overrun by coked up perverts. And nobody believed us. The people on the left didn't want to talk about it. No, the Clintons wanted to rub elbows with the Weinsteins. That's what happened. You've got people like Weinstein, Epstein, Allen, allegedly, Dan Schneider, allegedly, and other, you know, the Podestas, people like that, DC and Hollywood sort of being connected, that are all part of these weird social circles, and individuals within those circles, at least on the fringes of them, keep getting picked off for being perverted. Now, the funny thing is, at no time has a comprehensive, thorough investigation been done to see whether those individual perverts are part of a network of perverts. Now, when the FBI launches a sting online for child predators, they usually find more than one person. They find that they were coordinating. They were supplying one another. I think one of them is like 1,400 people got netted at one time based on their investigation on the dark web. 1,400 people. Are you telling me that Hollywood, any other group of perverts in the world, it tends to be some sort of weird collective. There's at least some data trail between them where they're in loose communication with one another based on what they're doing. Drugs. Drug dealer doesn't deal to one person. Drug dealer's dealing to a lot of them. If you investigate the drug dealer, you might find out who they're dealing to. If they did this in DC, we wouldn't have anybody probably left in the Senate other than maybe Rand and a handful of people too old to use cocaine because their hearts would explode, like maybe a Bernie Sanders. That's what would be left in the Senate. Everyone else is probably drunk and coked up all the time. The House, half of them would be gone. Hell, maybe Trump snorts a line now and then. You never know. What was Scalia up to the night that he keeled over? You think he had some embarrassing substances there that they had to quickly remove? And they accidentally left the pillow on his face, maybe? Oops. Yeah, we better get rid of the poppers. I think that might be a little bit obvious. Yeah, maybe something like that could happen. You're telling me that in Hollywood, there's no connection between people who are like, you know, a Bill Cosby, a Weinstein, whatever, or an Epstein. There can never be any connection between them. Anywhere else, the connection makes perfect sense. We should investigate thoroughly. We should believe the victims. But now you're going to say, well, you know, fuck this bullshit. We're not really going to do an investigation. They never have. They've never tried to figure it out because Hollywood throws money at the problem. They have high-powered lawyers. Their lawyers are probably perverts half the time. So Corey Feldman needs to be aware of the fact he probably will be targeted. Like when he comes out and says, well, I've had like people making death threats, I believe him. It just makes sense. He probably is getting like some Hollywood staffer at a payphone saying, hey, Corey, we're going to take care of you. Don't you dare talk to the press. And of course, he's talking to the press. The problem is now he's a little bit too visible for them to actually target effectively. I think if Corey Feldman dropped dead of a heart attack, we would trust us it was a heart attack tomorrow. What do you think would happen? Many, many people in very activistic groups would begin an investigation of their own. They wouldn't really wait for the police to get involved. Somebody would end up thrown in prison. Even if it is some Hollywood patsies. Okay, go to the clink for a couple years. We'll make sure it's cushy there. Give you $1 million when you get out. Sort of that arrangement that you could think of. But, Yeah, he's raising money. I support his cause. You should watch his video. He puts it in a fairly straightforward manner. Now, I'm sure the immediate inclination, because he's saying, well, you know, some people tried to run over me and I've had people threatening my life. Some people will immediately default to the, oh, he's having a mental breakdown. Somebody get the nut ward on the phone sort of bullshit. No, I don't think so. I think he's qualified to talk on what's gone on in Hollywood, at least in the past. With regards to some of these people who at the very least are dubious and creepy, if not have conducted themselves in a criminal manner, and he knows about it personally. Yeah, Elijah Wood disappears from the radar. He says, oh yeah, you know, Hollywood's overrun with people who are total sickos. And then all of a sudden he stops actually doing anything. Why do you think that is? I wonder why. Yeah, I'm sure that other people know what's going on. It's like when Weinstein gets taken down. All of a sudden, a dozen other people say, yeah, we kind of knew what was going on. We knew he was raping people and sexually assaulting people, but we couldn't stop him. Why didn't you tell somebody? You're telling me that some actor with $100 million to their name doesn't have the clout necessary to talk to the media and say, hey, something fucked up is going wrong here. You should probably try to get a journalist involved to see if you can figure out what that is? Do it anonymously. Go into some news firm. You know, you trust the media so much, supposedly. Go in and say, hey, I know a couple of perverts in Hollywood. You should try to embed an investigator into their life. You know, pose as an aspiring actor or something like that, and try to get footage of them being like total perverts. Why don't you do actual journalism anymore? They don't want to do that because Hollywood pays them a lot of money. Makes all the movies that pay, you know, the ad firms pay them money, advertise in a paper, advertise on TV. They don't want to piss them off. They don't want to piss off specifically the producer class of Hollywood. Always seems to be on that side. Unless it's like a Bill Cosby. You know, think of it this way. Look at Hollywood. You got a lot of people who seem child-friendly. But then you've got Bill Cosby. Like when I was a kid, if you had said, oh, Bill Cosby's a serial rapist, what are you talking about? He's the sweater-wearing chuckly like dad on TV. He couldn't possibly be like that. No, not Bill. He couldn't possibly be a total rapist. But he was. He is. He's a total pervert. Meanwhile, front page news yesterday briefly was Herbert Walker Bush, who is old and senile and probably doesn't know his own name half the time, touched a woman's rear end earlier this year and made a crude joke. And that's sexual assault. So you're saying that should be on the front page, but the Weinstein stuff, just shut up about it and don't start a witch hunt. No, I think we need a witch hunt. We need a witch hunt to raise enough awareness, put enough matches under the toes, so to speak, to get someone to start squawking. That's really what we need. We need an actual investigation. People need to get a little bit angry and upset that there are so many very, very rich people in Hollywood that apparently spend most of their time assaulting and harassing others. You look at the toll. You look at the number of allegations regarding just this very small handful of individuals. You're talking about a few dozen people, many thousands of victims. So you really only need a few dozen more perverts to make sure that a substantial proportion of all of the actors and actresses, all of the interns have at some point at least been sexually harassed. Probably sexually assaulted, and in some cases, you've got molestation and rape. All sorts of weird shit going on. You only need a small number of these individuals because apparently nobody else wants to come forward and name names. Except for Corey Feldman, and Elijah Wood will come out and say, yeah, well, they exist. I'm not saying anymore. I'm taking a fucking hands off to this. And I realize by saying this, I'll probably never act again in any meaningful manner. That's what happens. So we should support him. Spread awareness of his campaign. It's gotten into the mainstream news, so he's going to raise a hell of a lot of money. I think he's also doing a documentary about his life at the same time. Hopefully, though, all you need to do, though, Feldman, is get an interview slot and name the names. That's all you have to do. Like the power of the internet's a wonderful thing. We'll take care of the rest because, I mean, it's going to be front page in the alt media. You don't really need the CNNs and New York Times to report fairly. They'll probably just call you crazy and say, oh, these baseless allegations against these wonderful people. Because I bet a lot of these people have like family-friendly presences. It'll be some actors, it'll be some family actor. Some producer who does like total G-rated, like a Care Bears movie. Those will be the creeps and the perverts. Especially the ones that work with kids a lot, probably especially. You know, that happy-go-lucky dude in the the bear costume on the kids' movies with the Coke lines on under his suit on his nose. It'll be something like that. That's what you got to watch out for. So hopefully he succeeds. He's certainly raised enough money to pay legal fees for a substantial... It's already a six-figure total, so no problem there. Funding him more would be good. You can get him to that 10 million goal or whatever that malleable goal he has. Hey, you know, more power to him. It's a good thing. Yeah, activism can be great. We just have to stay away from craptivism. There's a difference between some person... It's like, remember when that NASA scientist had like the anime shirt? And third wavers came out and said, well, that's sexist. It's so evil and he should be like fired. He should cry and apologize. That's craptivism. It's bullshit. It doesn't make sense. It has no impact on your life. You're pretending to be offended. With something like this, we're talking about people whose psyches and lives are destroyed as they get slowly used up by the sort of weird cycle of fame and money and drugs and sex within Hollywood. At the very least, it ruins a lot of lives. Even if you didn't have perverts there, there'd be a hell of a lot of shattered dreams and a hell of a lot of children who got misused financially by managers and ended up dirt poor very quickly after basically retiring early because they were no longer cute as a child star. That's happened a lot of times. Look at Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. What did they do after they grew up? After they went through puberty, what did they do? They had a few slots here and there, and they basically retired. They don't do anything anymore because they were known as child stars. Oh, look, these cute little twins. I think they had there was a third daughter too that nobody knew about or some bullshit. They appear on the screen, they get rich. Nobody's there to look out for them, and they get screwed. And I think one of them was bulimic for a while, and the other one was on coke. Yeah, that's what Hollywood does to people who are too young when they enter. And of course, you've got to have people who are children to depict children, unless you want to hire like midgets. And then people would be offended, and that'd be a big problem too. But yeah, there are perverts in Hollywood. And we've got to start taking that fact seriously. We can't just, we keep rendering it or seeing it rendered by the legacy media and the politicians and stuff. They always say, oh, it's a conspiracy. Comet Ping Pong, it's a conspiracy. Schneider, that's a conspiracy. No, Bubba Bill never went to Epstein's Island. That's a conspiracy. Couldn't no perversion in any of these cases. It's just baseless allegations. Everyone wants to render it to a conspiracy. Now, if I said that a group of regular Joes was perverted and they had like a rape dungeon or something, people wouldn't immediately call me a conspiracy theorist now, would they? I wonder why there's a difference between these two claims. How is it that we trust Hollywood? A place where people are known to ingest huge amounts of drugs, and they do have orgies, and they do at least legal weird shit all the time. How would they be more trustworthy? I think I'm going to take Corey Feldman seriously on this one. No, I think I will. You should watch his video, spread it around. That's about all. Peace out.